Hour wants to thank Aetna and University of Phoenix for partnering with us during Mental Health Awareness and Sports Physical Fitness Month to sponsor the Find the One Challenge, which encourages everyone to find the one habit that makes them feel strong, both mentally and physically. Today's webinar is in support of that challenge. Over the next hour, we will be talking to a highly qualified group of experts about making healthy habits stick. Our panelists will share how mental, physical, and nutritional fitness rely on each other and how you can build and strengthen your own fitness. Even small changes can make a big difference, resulting in a healthier mind and body. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm having problems today with my computer. During today's conversation, the chat and question and answer features are enabled. Please use the chat feature for any administrative or technical questions and use the Q&A feature to ask questions of the panelists. We will also be posting a few polls throughout the webinar. The answers will be anonymous, so please participate if you're comfortable. Panelists, at this time, will you please turn on your videos? While they do that, let me introduce our moderator for today. Seth Serxner is a recognized expert and leader in health and well-being who brings the breadth of experience in academia, industry, and consulting to serve others. Currently an independent consultant and internationally recognized speaker on health and well-being, he formerly served as the Chief Health Officer and Senior Vice President of Population Health for Optum, a Fortune 5 health and well-being company. His versatile skill set helps him engage with his audience and ensures processes and outcomes that improve health for clients in all markets with whom he works. Seth's deep knowledge of behavior change, population health and well-being, social determinants of health and measurement allow him to visualize and deliver on program innovation. He has more than 30 years of experience in health and productivity management and has published more than 50 articles and chapters. Thank you, Seth, for moderating today's conversation. The floor is now yours.
Thanks, Nikki. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Give an Hour, and thank you to all the sponsors for this very important topic today. Really looking forward to the conversation. We've got some very impressive panelists today, and I'm really so appreciative of their time. So before we get into the conversation, let's just do a quick set of introductions and just starting, I'm just going to go the way my screen looks. So Trina, you're the first one on my screen. So if you could give a brief introduction, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My name is Trina Clayeux. I am the CEO of Give an Hour, and we're the one who is hosting the Give an Hour event through May. And I'm just thrilled to be here, and what a great panel. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Rob, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. Master Sergeant Rob Wilkins, retired United States Air Force. Currently a member of the President's Council of Physical Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Trina, and thanks to the staff for putting this together. I look forward to learning a lot from the panelists and from the questions that we received. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And Katie? You're on mute, Katie.
Sorry, I was trying to be polite. My name is Katie Fitzgerald. I am a nutritionist. I have a master's in clinical nutrition, and I really love this opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Vanila?
Hi, good morning, everyone from the West Coast. I'm Dr. Vanila Singh. I'm the former Chief Medical Officer at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, where I helped guide national opioid policy, as well as ran the Best Practices Pain Task Force. I am currently practicing at the School of Medicine, where I serve on faculty, and I've served in many capacities for mental health and fitness. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
Fantastic. So as we said, this is an impressive panel. I believe there are some bios in the chat if people want more detail. But let's just kick it off. So the conversation today is really about healthy habits, kind of secrets of what makes them stick. And what I'd like to kick this off is when I think about behavior change, there are a lot of different behavior change theories out there that everybody's probably familiar with. When I think about it kind of in three phases. The first phase being an awareness phase or a self-awareness phase about like what motivates you, what do you care about, what's really in it for you. The second phase is a skill building phase that often tends to be where we focus. How do you exercise? How do you eat properly, et cetera? And then the third phase is the maintenance phase, or the phase it's like, how do we keep this thing sticking? And how do we deal with, well, kind of, when we, fall off the wagon, so to speak. So let's talk a little bit about this. And again, now my screens have moved around, and I'm going to just go randomly with some of these. So Vanila, your face is on my screen. So I'm just curious to get your initial take in your work. How do you view overall behavior change and how that goes in your world?
Yeah, thanks so much, Seth. I think that's like the most, one of the most important aspects of moving towards good health, whether it's wellness or it's managing a chronic disease state. And it's also one of the most challenging. We know that people have good intentions, but I think it often starts with first really identifying what is the issue that we're trying to address. And I found with patients who have really challenging situations, underlying neurologic diseases, really when that identity comes to mind, that I have to actually get up and move around, say, for example, that's the first step. And then realistically incorporating it into your schedule. So you have to prioritize it. That's hard for all of us. I mean, certainly for myself, I can say whenever I have these grand ideas, they just remain ideas unless you make time for it. You take something else away that's not as important. And it's really about breaking those habits. It takes time, but also some sense of forgiveness, because we will fall off the bandwagon. It's really hard to move from a routine that is almost mindless to one that takes a conscious presence and effort. So that's really where I would start with making those very challenging decisions.
That's terrific. I really appreciate that comment. We're going to circle back particularly to this forgiveness in a second. But Rob, what about your world? Fitness, sports, all the rest. Tell me how things play out for you.
Thank you for that question. Vanila, she covered most of everything that I would have, I agree with everything she said there, but the part for me is discipline. So many people, they want to be inspired and motivated, but often inspiration and motivation aren't a daily thing. So one day I may be inspired, the next day I'm not, but if I'm disciplined, no matter how I feel, I will go to the gym, I will work out, I will eat correctly, and falling off the wagon from time to time is okay. What I personally do is I try to plan it. I love cheesecake, I love ice cream sodas. So what I try to do, I'll put it in my schedule earlier in the day. That way I have the rest of the day to burn it off. I'm going to really give into my cardio because I know my reward is coming. I think when you try to limit everything you're doing or try to be so strict, it's hard to do that for a long period of time. You might be able to do it for 7 days, 14 days, but once you start getting into 3-4 weeks, it becomes really difficult. So I think you need to enjoy your workout, have fun doing what you're doing, encourage others to participate with you, but remember that you're human, and from time to time you're gonna fall. You're not gonna fall. You're just gonna decide to eat ice cream like I do. It's not a big deal.
So, Rob, I've got to follow up on that a little bit. The discipline thing.
Yes.
Where does that come from? I mean, that, like you say, I love your comment that, hey, some days I'm fired up, I'm inspired. Other days, boy, it is really hard to just start. So how do you do that?
So for me, the discipline part comes from, I personally start challenging my friends so that by keeping them in line, they keep me in line. So for example, I might write Vanila a Fitness Friday. I might say, happy Fitness Friday, make sure you're exercising. So by me doing that to her, she's going to maybe in turn say, well, are you exercising? Or I might reach out to Katie and send her a note or something asking her, are you taking care of yourself? So you have to put on your own oxygen mask first before you can do other things for other people. So by trying to keep my network, my friends, and my family in line, it keeps me in line because I don't want to talk the talk without walking the walk.
Got it. The social kind of connection and kind of public commitment. Katie, yes. What do you think of that? Is that, I know nutrition is so hard for people. Rob's eating cheesecake in the morning, but he's working it off later. I'm a chocolate guy. I like it later in the day, but every day for sure. Katie, what are some of the things that you see as you work with folks around these issues?
I don't know that I'm someone that's particularly disciplined or someone that has a wealth of self-control. So I come from a place of really understanding how people struggle with that. But I think what can help the average Joe or Jane overcome that is systems in place. And we can all have the best of intentions for what we want to achieve, but really drilling down on a goal and making sure that it's really right-sized for your individual needs, for your lifestyle, for your other commitments that you have, is I think the difference, or at least for as far as I've seen, the difference between meeting a goal and falling short. And I think the statistic is, most people don't make aren't doing their New Year's resolution by the time Valentine's Day rolls around, and that's not that long of a time. And I think it's, when you make a goal, you really have to evaluate and drill down on it. Like, so if you're, for example, like if your goal is to go to the gym more, that is a pretty weak goal, because what is more, and what are you going to do at the gym? So a way that you could break that down is to say, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week, and you're going to look at your schedule and say, I'm going to go to the gym on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I'm going to go to the gym at 8 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I'm going to set my alarm the night before, and I'm going to put my workout clothes out the night before, and I'm going to make sure that someone's watching my kids. There are so many, we are asked to do so many things, and we have so many challenges that come up, and that's part of life. But if you have systems in place to support you through your goal, then you're much less likely to fall out when you have the structure in place.
Got it. So Trina, this all sounds very stressful to me. This is a lot to take on. What's your take on this?
Yeah. I was just writing down like little pieces what everybody said, because I think it is, it all is cumulative in how you decide what you're going to prioritize and how you're going to do these habits. I'm such a fan of systems. I think systems take a lot of the emotion out of the day-to-day and the ups and downs and the, I can't remember what Rob said, but when you're not really stepping into the value that you have there, you're having to catch yourself, and a system will really help put those things in perspective. I love, there's a quote that's kind of something along the line is like, every decision you make is a vote for the person that you want to be. And while I don't want to be that extreme where there's no wiggle room, because also want the cheesecake, I think that a lot, I'm just going to speak very generally about women, but I think a lot of women go into very extreme all or nothing. And some of those goals, as Katie was saying, are so not attainable or realistic, and we lose sight of all the systems in place that start to create the habit that we want, and that can be more sustainable rather than I want to lose 40 pounds by summer. That one will always fall short. But if you talk about you're sustaining a system and creating an environment around that supports your goals, you're going to see a lot of non-scale or non-stress victories that are along the way, and to really take note of that. And I think that's part of that connection.
So really interesting themes that are emerging. You guys are all talking about creating systems and processes and really kind of breaking things down a bit. There's an author, Kyra Bobinet, out of Stanford, who talks about health by design and neurobiology of the decisions and what happens when we think strictly, to many of your points, about decisions and, oops, I made a bad decision. I had ice cream. That's a bad decision, versus an iterative mindset, which I think you're all talking about, which is continuing to evolve those systems to figure out what's going to work for you, but not say, bad, I just blew it, it's over. So Vanila, I'm really curious. You have a broad background, a lot of different areas working with various patients. How do you help people kind of create these environments to succeed?
Yeah, so I usually first start off with that forgiveness part that we talked about, because usually it comes from a sense of I'm never going to be able to do this. I find that's true for a lot of people when we're having honest discussions, whether it's fitness or nutrition, losing weight, or just this sometimes catastrophic thinking that I'm never going to get better. My life is done. I'm stuck in this. That mentality is, of course, it's so harmful. But even coming to terms with that and saying, hey, people do that because we assume the worst, and it really stems from fear of failure. And so sometimes you get ahead of the failure by just saying, I'm not even going to try because I don't want to go through that disappointment. I like having candid conversations with my patients, sometimes not just for them, but for my own self. And I even share that with them. I'm obviously can be disciplined in studying or academia, but does that translate to other aspects of life? No. People come in, they're accomplished, but there is sometimes a barrier to something that is so important to you. It might be just your own self-value of how you look at yourself or where you think you've fallen short. And I think it's okay to just have that candid conversation and forgive whatever you think you've done in the past. Have small mini goals, reward yourself. I'm really into recovery, and recovery meaning we're all super type A, and sometimes it feels like you're never quite doing enough. And the idea of recovery is great, where I allow myself to, quote, indulge. And I think sometimes that's the place to start, that it's okay to not be on track every day, every minute. I have a lot of patients that are very inspiring to me because I've seen them overcome things with the systems, the validation of the challenges, and then also the self-forgiveness that is vital.
It's a very compassionate approach. I really appreciate that. And there's a lot of talk about be kind to yourself. I really hate this term cheat day, where people say, oh, I'm cheating, because it's, that's already, I'm a bad person for being a cheater. There's a lot of literature, that adult learning theory says that adults don't like to fail, right? Kids fail. They don't even see it as a fail. They're learning, figuring out. Adults already know, uh-oh, I failed. So small accomplishments that you're speaking to really seem to be the trick here. The initial candid conversation about why are you bothering? What's in it for you? What are your real values? I think that's a real critical piece to all of this. What, Rob, you started off with this discipline thing, and everybody's been very kind of kind and understanding about discipline. Mm-hmm. But I think it's kind of an interesting theme to how do you create, discipline sounds kind of harsh, but I think you might have a different take on when you talk discipline. Can you kind of share more about your philosophy on this?
Yes, great question. So discipline for me, also coming from a military background, means if you don't have structures or things in place, you have chaos. So as a first sergeant, if I'm trying to have 400 or 500 people do something for our mission, if there is not something in place to make sure that everyone does his or her job, then we're going to have repetitive motions. We're going to have people doing the same thing over and over. We're going to have people arguing because that's my thing to do. No, that's my thing. So having discipline basically says, this is where my goals are, and these are the steps or the processes I'm going to take to get there. Mm-hmm. So for example, we were talking about kind of being kind to yourself. Well, instead of saying, oh, I got to go work out today, I say, I have a privilege to go to the gym today. It's just wordplay, but it's trying to set my mind in a positive place, that how lucky I am to be able to go today. Where some people, they're not feeling well, they have things that they have to resolve at home or at work. Well, my issue is I got to get to the gym to take care of my health, because I have a 15-year-old son and a wife who need me to be around longer. So how am I going to try to make myself be in their lives longer with mobility, with giving them some great advice or receiving some great advice. The best medicine there is movement. That's exercise to me. So I'm trying to say, how can I be a strong advocate for exercise? How can I set the example for my son and for my friends that I always talk to them about exercise, is to go do it, and to stay disciplined and to stay in their ear too. You know, exercise is great for me, but bring a friend, walk your dog too. Those doggies need exercise as well. So I am trying to be on that bandwagon of everybody moving, because our country cannot sustain the healthcare costs that we currently have. And some of the easiest things to do are just walk.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I have a friend that is a runner. I'm a runner as well. And we always say that the worst part about running is when you can't do it. So as hard as that day is when you're trying to get up and run, you just have to remind yourself how lucky you are that you get to take a run, even if it's a slow jog, you know, and you set a different goal. That gratitude part, I think we're getting into that theme too. How lucky am I to be able to take a walk? How lucky am I to get to just be outside or be in a gym with others? And that switch from workout, diet, I think you're right. Words are very powerful. You know, Trina, I think this ties again to kind of a lot of mental health issues and kind of how people are hard on themselves or not. And we're getting some interesting themes around discipline, structure, how to set yourself up. What's your angle on this?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Rob more. And, you know, I think of almost everything in my life as a practice. And that's a little bit of that wordplay, is that I practice leadership. Every day I practice. Some days are great, some days not so hot. And every day is a day for me to practice that again. I think of the same thing with health and wellness and nutrition and physical fitness, is I'm just always in a constant state of practice. A lot of times I'm training for something and my practice changes, my nutrition changes, my focus changes, the way I do things changes. Other times I'm just kind of maintaining, and I'm doing it because I know it works for me. I know what I need in order to have kind of my best day. But I love the idea of a practice, because it really puts it in perspective for me that this is an ongoing, it's enduring. I'm looking for durable ways of continuing to do this, even into, you know, my old age. I want to be able to do this, but to do that, I had to change my mindset. And I tend to have a very extreme, everything is fast and hard, and I don't always think it all the way through. And so it's really, the idea of practice has brought me a little bit more to center. And I think it's an important piece. And it also is a lot of, it gives you a lot of that forgiveness. It puts you in a different state of being. And I think making that connection also with the mental, because physical fitness, I find a lot of folks are more comfortable talking about physical fitness, and getting to mental health through physical fitness. And I think Rob for this as well, is just has created a different space for folks to be able to talk about that practice as far as how your physical fitness affects your mental health. And it's really been a doorway in order to have more conversations about the effects on mental health.
You know, I really like this theme of practice. Again, it's a mindset, but it's the words are very powerful. I'm practicing. Well, that means you haven't mastered yet. And, you know, the masters in many arts always just talk about it's a practice, a meditation practice, a yoga practice. So, you know, Katie, I'm with Rob. Exercise is so important. And what I also find is that people think that if they exercise for 20 minutes, they can eat whatever they want for the rest of the day. So how can we use this framework of practice? You talked a lot about some really good like systems and setting things up, but when you work with people and you kind of help them with their practice, their eating practice, their nutrition practice, what are some of the things that you're finding are helpful again? And what are some of the big stumbling blocks that maybe we can help people get over?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest, when a lot of people think about a diet, which is some of what we're talking about here, you're thinking about a mindset where you're going to really restrict. And I think that is a huge stumbling block, because we may be in 2022, but our instruction manual is a couple thousand years old, and we have to honor that. And so when I think a better, more effective mindset to take on is an abundance mindset. And for example, no matter what your nutrition or physical fitness goals are, whatever ways that you're eating right now today, adding one additional serving of whole vegetables is going to be a step in the right direction. Instead of saying like, I'm not going to eat chocolate, or I'm not going to eat this, or I'm not going to eat that. If you add these whole foods, an additional serving to just one a day, or one for every meal, or one as a snack, or just wherever you are, adding one in a way that seems appropriate to you, that's going to keep you feeling fuller longer. That's going to increase your nutrient profile and your nutrient density. It's also really enjoyable. Instead of sitting there thinking, I'm not going to have XYZ, you get to, add something more onto your plate, and in return you get so much more back. And in terms of fitness, I think it can be applied too, because you may want to go for an hour walk and you really only have 20 minutes. Well, instead of saying, well, I can't do the 60 minutes, so I'll just do none of it. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you can, give yourself that investment of the 20 minutes, that's 20 minutes that you're adding into your investment. Again, that's more of an abundance mindset than a restrictive mindset, or a less mindset. And I think our brain wants to do what's easiest always. Even in the face of challenges, our brain always wants to go for the path of least resistance. So if you're giving your brain that option, and you can still do that while maintaining your goals and not feeling burnt out and not feeling frustrated, and then all of a sudden you'll be getting stronger. All of a sudden you'll be having better energy, and it feeds into itself.
So let me ask you this, and this is going to be for everybody as well, which is, there's a lot of confusing information out there.
Yeah.
Nutrition is a minefield of eat protein, don't eat till noon, eat more, eat all this stuff. I'm just trying to live my life. I'm trying to do the right thing, exercise the same way. Oh, do this, do that. Walking's the best thing. No, walking's not enough. So, and meditation practices. So how do you help people? I really like this abundance, non-restrictive, just do what you can do thing. But how do you help people sort through the morass of information?
Well, I think all of us on the panel would agree that we follow science first and foremost, and evidence-based methods. We can look back to, because we can repeat them over and over again, and understand, be in step with how the body works, and as opposed to what we've been fed for. But
how does the typical you guys are deep in the science, yeah. But here I'm just trying to do my best. Do you have advice for people?
It's kind of pointing out and addressing that some of the information out there is really faulty, and helping the average person understand why it is, and why nobody's goal should be to lose 20 pounds in a month. Things like that. So being realistic and coming to the table with what's actually fact, as opposed to someone trying to sell you a product or a plan or an idea.
Right. Okay. Yeah. What's the agenda behind it?
Seth, if I could just jump in.
I saw you excited about this.
I was just going to say, look, I think the reason there's so many different ways of success is because people vary individually, metabolically, physiologically, even what our routine, what do we like, you're a runner. My son runs. I don't understand how you guys run like miles. Like, I'm sitting there going, that is just so cool. On the other hand, I know that I like hiking, and so there's other things, and I think that's the variability. That's where it gets confusing, because there's no one size that fits all. And so I think what people have to do is really look at what do they enjoy. And are they morning people? Are they night people? When are they active? Obviously, there are some things that we know are just not good in terms of, having too much of anything. If obviously you're eating only sugars and, we know that likely puts you at risk for disease, and diabetes and et cetera. But we also know generalities like moving around is really good. I like the abundance thing, just adding a minute, adding 5 minutes. What Rob said, it is so important, especially in this day and age of internet and all of us just kind of being forced to be slow. So there are some generalities, but what I really love is that we all have different propensities and interests. I used to skip breakfast, always told that was so bad. And then all of a sudden intermittent fasting supposedly has validated me, and I'm like, I don't even know whether that was true or not, but I just, on the go, except for my coffee is to be there. But that's just what was natural. No one ever told me. So then you have to sort of work around, is there a good way to do that, get your nutrients, stay active, or does it really require something substantial? That's why I don't think that we should feel we have to do things a certain way. Just find what does generally meet the goals with movement. Okay, you have to move. Try to eat healthier. What is healthier? I mean, what suits us? I tend to love, everybody was mentioning chocolate. I mean, I love salsa. So what does that mean? Do I, chips or, salsa is just because of the chips that I get into trouble. So I had to figure out a way, hey, celery or, so things like that. I think it's that individual to find out who you are, be honest. I think we all know when we're in the wrong spot, but on the other hand, it's okay that you move a certain way or you pick a certain activity, you have your meals a certain way. It's just keeping track of moderation. And that guilt, if I compare myself to some of my friends like you, Seth, I don't know what I would do. I've always wanted to run 5 miles. I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, this is such a great theme. Individuality, what works for you, what works for your body at a given time in your life. Like I can't do what I used to do, but I can still do some stuff. So really appreciate those comments about, and I'm like you, I'm a breakfast skipper. I even skip breakfast before workouts. Some people say you're supposed to eat before you go do a big action, so, but your body, just trust that for general guidelines. So Rob, you've got to have some thoughts on this one. This is just right up your alley. What's your take on how to still be disciplined, but to be disciplined for your own style and preferences?
Basically what Vanila was saying, I agree on many of her points, because you have to be where you're at. And there are many paths to success. What might work for me may not work for anyone else. However, being where you're at means, if you haven't exercised for many, many years, you just can't go outside and start running for a mile or two. You have to start with baby steps. So what I encourage some of my friends is, this is National Physical Fitness and Sports Month, is do commercial ups or commercial jumping jacks, meaning every commercial, do 20 jumping jacks, do 20 push-ups, do 20 crunches, because I've often heard people say, I have no time for exercise. But there's Mickey Mantle was a famous baseball player for the Yankees. He said, if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. Or there's another phrase, a German phrase saying, the person with their health has 1,000 wishes. The person without their health has but one. So I try to tell people that the most important thing you have is your health. To be with your family longer, you have to be healthy. To be better at your job, you have to be healthy. So trying to maintain your health, try to do things to improve your health are paramount to your success, to your family's success. So how do you do that? Well, maybe the 5-minute walk, but in 2 weeks, it's a 10-minute walk. Don't try to do what Trina does or what Katie does. Do what fits you. And also, we were talking about the scientific research and papers and things. It used to be one of my favorite things, to go to a library and read all that data. Well, now you basically can pick up most mainstream magazines or newspapers, and they are highlighting physical fitness and the mental aspect of physical fitness, how they go parallel. So you don't have to read scientific journals anymore to find information on exercise. I think you can watch the news or you can do Google searches, but there's tons of information out there. And basically, we're trying to get 150 minutes a week. That's the starting point. According to health.gov, CDC, if we can get 150 minutes per week, that's a great place to start. Now, maybe you only get 30 your first time exercising, but our goals are to get to 150 minutes a week.
So, Rob, we were kidding around on the call before this, and you said it was okay to challenge a little bit. So I think people know that they need to do that. I think people they know that they should eat better. And we've given what seems like pretty obvious, recommendations around get a routine, have a system, use friends, do what's fun. And yet it's not happening. And help me out, because I'm with you. I mean, I think health, if you don't have your health, you're right. There's one wish.
Right. Well, I think it also depends on what your circumstances are. So, for example, we did a President's Council visit to an inner city, and the information and the advice that I gave there was completely different than the advice and information I gave where I live. So here, people are able to ride their bikes, they're able to go walking, they're able to go hiking. Well, when you're living in the middle of inner city, you might have to just walk, because there's not the same opportunities. You also there might be a different concern for security and safety. We were suggesting to one kid, how about running up and down the stairs? Well, he told me that's not a good idea to do that. Also, the lights go out or they fall, or there are many obstacles. So again, being where you're at is the key. Do what you can where you're at with the information, with the equipment or lack of equipment that you have.
I thank you so much for making that comment. I've spent the last 2 years in this area of social determinants of health and health equity. And let's face it, resources vary tremendously, circumstances vary tremendously. And when you're worried about making ends meet on a daily basis, you're not worried about getting 10 extra steps in and parking the car farther, drinking 7 glasses of water. You're worried about how you're making ends meet. So I do think that, again, this kind of kindness and forgiveness, and yet on the other hand, what can you do? If you're watching TV, can you get up at every commercial, do something funny, high five your, whatever it takes, other than walk to the kitchen. But I really appreciate that. And maybe, Trina, I suspect you have some thoughts about this as well.
Yeah, it's so similar when we talk about the physical health and talking about the mental health, because we find the same thing. There's not a lot of new information. In mental health, we repackage it, but a lot of it is really foundational, things like practices to do, breathing, and people are like, try it twice, and they're like, well, it didn't work, so I'm not going to do it anymore. But it's the consistency and the routine of it. What we really are finding is that there's an element of teaching people the skills of leaning in and doing the things. And I feel like there's almost like a disconnect there. So it's like, yeah, I know what I'm supposed to do. I might go do it once or twice, but there's almost like a skill building, because we need you to lean in to the responsibility and the discomfort that this is going to also cause. There's a discomfort. Yesterday, I was like back-to-back meetings. I felt like I was always behind on something, made dinner really quickly. And I was like, here, y'all eat alone, because I'm going to go out and go do my run. And for me, it was like, I was a little uncomfortable with it, but I thought, this is going to be my priority. This is what I'm going to do. And so mental health has a lot of that too. You start kind of scratching at the surface of some of your patterns and behaviors. It starts becoming uncomfortable. It sounds like I maybe don't want to be doing this anymore, or it feels too hard or too much work. And that's why I think you have to kind of focus on what's on the other side of this. If you stay where you're at, you get what you get. And if you can start to see over the other side of this discomfort, mental discomfort, physical discomfort, nutritional discomfort, making different decisions, it will get better. There will be something really beneficial on the other side of that. And it's part of what, I think about having to keep in mind as you're going through the process, because it's not a smooth process all the way through. And you will feel uncomfortable, and you may even feel bad, and that you'll be okay, especially if you continue to practice it.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I exercise. I used to say that I run more for my head than my heart. And when I was younger, I talked to this woman who was much older than me, and she ran at lunch every day. And I had the luxury of just playing. I played volleyball and surf and ride and all this. I never, quote, worked out. And I said, my gosh, this seems so boring to me that you go run for an hour. It seems so hard. And she said, you don't understand. I have kids, I have a job, I have all this stuff. This is my 1 hour for me. And I think about what I want, I'm by myself, et cetera. So again, these themes are how do you make it for you? This is the biggest gift you can give yourself. You can give yourself 10 minutes of meditation, a walk, a run, a bike ride, a little gym workout. These are gifts to yourself. And what I hear so often, especially from women, is that they are taking care of everybody else and almost feel guilty. Like, good for you. You went out for the run. But look, you guys, you're set. I got to go take care of me. Rob, you said earlier, if I'm not healthy, I can't take care of my family. That core is just so challenging. I think sometimes for people, they feel a little bit self-conscious about it. And I think, Katie, maybe talk about the food part of this. Food's so social. It's such a context. And if I'm all of a sudden the guy, I've been a vegetarian a long time and it was a little awkward. So and I always say, don't worry, it's a personal problem. Eat whatever you want to eat. Don't mind me. But how do you change your style in the context of maybe your family or your friends or your work environment?
Yeah, I mean, when there's a reason it's called nutrition counseling, because counseling is a really large part of it. I mean, in sessions with clients that, we generally talk more about what's going on in their life and their family and a little bit about food here and there, because if it was just about calories, I don't think anyone would have, I don't think very many people would have a weight issue at all, or have a, an urgent need to lose weight, but it's cultural. It's the ways that we celebrate. So it shouldn't be demonized. It shouldn't be looked down upon. It's about falling in love with taking care of yourself, finding ways to do it in a way that feeds your soul as well as your stomach. And like we've been saying all the way through, giving yourself grace, like Vanila said, like forgiving yourself for whatever happened yesterday or last year or last week, because that's only going to drag you down. It's about, taking time to sort of check in with yourself and say, like, is this serving me or is this not serving me? And not in a perfect way, but sort of in a general way. Like, is this diet that I'm on worth it? Am I so miserable and I'm nasty to my friends and family and I can't concentrate because I'm cranky? Is this really serving you? Or maybe is there a better way to evaluate that goal and fine tune it where you can have balance?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, Vanila, can you also kind of chime in on this whole theme, and especially kind of helping people really understand how to, I guess, fit it within their context, whatever that may be?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love what you were saying, really, that it doesn't have to be demonized, Katie, that it can be part of your life. But when people are motivated, and say sometimes it's health reasons, I love that opportunity to help share, much of what we're learning. Some foods are inflammatory, and actually make situations worse. We know that, hey, we've learned so much about gluten-free diets or other things that are individual. Again, it's to that person's needs. And if they're motivated, and from whether it's a healthy perspective, disease perspective, I think that's when I really see the green light or the light bulb go off. That becomes the why. So your own personal health is often, once there's a reason behind it, I think that really helps with clarity and moving forward. It is a hard issue because maybe society has made it so that we believe that to do things in the right manner with a step forward in nutrition or physical fitness means having, suffering. And I agree that you might be out of your comfort zone, but it doesn't have to be suffering. It can be about, actually finding that your life is better. And you just have to, want to read some books or get on the internet. There's great YouTube videos from people who are really entertaining. Actually, we share such resources. I also find people they're very motivated when it's something simple that might be nutritional supplements. And I usually look for like killing two birds with one stone. And I like birds. I don't mean to say that, but vitamin C, which is good for your health, but it's immune boosting. Vitamin D, which now we know has so many different values. I find that when people find that, oh, there's easy ways to look like you're making a positive change, it opens up a path. So again, it's that candid conversation, the motivation behind it. Sometimes just doing things that are good for your health actually do help you get to your ideal body weight, your physical fitness. It sort of just opens the door.
Yeah, this easy path theme is a pretty good one. I really appreciate that. For some reason, pre-COVID, I traveled for 25 years every week all over the country. And it's pretty hard as a business traveler to do that and stay in your routine. But one thing that always struck me, and it wasn't as common because when you're a business traveler, but when you see a little kid in an airport and they start to look at this giant like a hallway down a terminal where there's a walking thing or whatever, what's the first thing they do? They just start running down it. There is just joy. They just go, oh my gosh, look at this place. I get to run. I get to jump. I get to play. And I feel like we've all lost that. We get on the moving walking and just stand there. I'm too type A to do that anyway, but it's there to help you walk, not just move you. But it's an easy path, right? And people figure it's right there. So again, Rob, I can't imagine how many kind of angles you have on this and with fitness. And it's kind of a cool contrast. You're saying discipline, but you're also saying make it fun, make it your own, make it real, find the joy in it. But, help people exercise. Again, it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to go exercise. How do you continue to, I love that Katie said counsel. How do you counsel or advise people around this?
I suggest to them that, again, they do what makes them happy. For some people, it's riding bikes. It's others, it may be swimming. But you mentioned COVID earlier. I've been to a lot of events recently where actually Trina and I were just at an event, and there have been so many folks who say, I know I've gained a lot of weight. That's what they're opening there with. They're like, you're looking at me because I've gained 15 or 20 pounds. And I'm actually just happy to see them without a mask. I'm not thinking about their weight. But what I think COVID has done is given us a restart. Listen, if you didn't work out before, maybe you could start now. We know that I think it's about 40% of the people who have passed from COVID had some kind of mobility, that there was something already wrong with them and that this just brought it on. The differences in healthcare and how we take care of ourselves have really been exposed, especially in the minority communities. So what do we do to make these things better? We start giving education. We start encouraging people to move more. We start saying, hey, you don't have to look like a bodybuilder. There was a lady in our fitness center, actually, she lost about 15 pounds. And me and a bunch of other guys, we went up and actually told her. And I remember that her eyes got misty because she thought nobody noticed. Well, we did notice. Every day, this lady's in there chugging along and doing stuff. And so, I want to be careful about making comments about someone's appearance. But I thought, you know what? We have to give her some compliments because she's inspiring us and she's probably inspiring others to keep working out. So share good news with people. Hey, I see you in here. I see you keep trying. Way to go. You working out inspires me to keep working out. So again, kind words, powerful words, words of inspiration, hope, they all go a long way. You never know, by you just saying something keeps that person on track. They might have been thinking about going to have cheesecake with Rob as opposed to saying, no, Rob, I skipped it today. I'm going to go do a jog or something like that.
Yeah, I really appreciate those comments. I think that Nikki introduced a part of what my focus is on, well-being. And if we were to kind of elevate this a little more broadly and not just think, okay, fitness, nutrition, mental health, but overall well-being, what we know contributes to people's sense of well-being is a sense of gratitude and hope, optimism, social connection, and purpose. So through those things, through those realizations and really understanding what's your purpose? You meant, Rob, you were quick to talk about your family. Others were also quick to talk about their family, their patients, their friends. Is your purpose to give back? Is your purpose to live a long, healthy life so you can, be with your partner, whatever it may be? Understanding your purpose and that hope and optimism that transitions to gratefulness is really, I think, a cornerstone to all of this. And for me, I'll just kind of mention that as I've moved from wellness to well-being to joy, and there's a wonderful book that is a conversation between the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. It's called The Book of Joy. And there are 8 really nice themes there. I highly recommend people. I know we're talking about this other kind of seems kind of vertical, but I would put this overall context to it all, that it's about wellness and having joy in your life. And animals, we're animals. We are made to be physically active. And we're super lucky that we can eat a lot of different foods. So there is an abundance of choice. And I think our mental health, we're learning how healthy it is to just be outside, to take a breath, to really focus in. So I've just so appreciated this conversation and all of your perspectives on this. Maybe let's do a quick round robin. You get like 1 or 2 words of the wise. I got mine in, but Vanila, you're on my screen. So give us a gem here.
Well, first, I just want to say I love your words to joy. What I would say to people is, remember, we're all unique and individual in our own right. Learn to love yourself. Find your path. Don't be hard on yourself. I do believe in self-forgiveness. It enables us to move forward. And I do want to echo, I think one thing that we've learned is mind-body connection is very strong. It's okay to be open and talk about it. We're probably at the best time we've ever been in our society to be candid and open. And there's no such thing as perfect. You already are the way you were meant to be, and just optimize it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Katie, how about you?
Yeah, that, nutrition and physical fitness is difficult for most people. And so, and you can honor that and understand that it's a challenge, but not one that you can't do something about. So start with one really meaningful goal and build from there.
Beautiful. Thank you. Trina?
I would definitely encourage, find your tribe, find a group to be connected to, whether it's in person or virtual, that I think COVID has really showed us that connectedness and relatedness is good for all those parts of the well-being that you're talking about.
Thank you so much. And Rob, you get the last word.
Thank you. I appreciated the opportunity with everyone. And I hope the audience found some words of wisdom in there. But my final words were, be the author of your life. Take control, do what you can, when you can, as you can. While some people you see on social media, all these great homes and big cars and all these things that people have, that's just not how many of us are living. So as the author of your life, you do what you can. If you're having a great life in a small little cabin, or if you're living in the inner city or wherever it is, do the best you can. But the healthier you can be, probably the better you will be. And health begins with everything. Health is the foundation of our lives. So I encourage you all to do whatever you can to be healthier. And I wish you all good luck.
Perfect closing comments. So thanks so much again. I just feel so honored and privileged to have been able to be part of this conversation. And again, Give an Hour, thank you so much. Nikki, I don't know if you have any closing comments or if we're just done with the conversation for now. Thank you so much, everyone.
Seth, thank you. And to all the panelists, thank you so much for sharing your tips and ideas for creating a healthier lifestyle, making ourselves stronger and more resilient. I wanted to invite everyone that's here today to join Give an Hour's month-long challenge, the Find the One challenge. It's an opportunity for people to find the one habit that makes them feel strong, both mentally and physically. In the chat, you can find a link to learn more, or you can follow us on any social media platform at Give an Hour. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending today's webinar. And you can find this webinar on our YouTube channel.
Thanks so much. Take care, everybody.
Bye.